So
Trinity Thomas.
There's no other Trinity, Spencer.
I know.
There's it's a Simone.
What
and
about
Trinity.
the Holy Trinity, Jessica?
Aaliyah, Simone, and Yordaki, you mean?
Remember, the show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word or two.
Luisa Blanco and Nin Reyes have qualified to the Paris Olympic Games. Kara Eaker released a statement about leaving the University of Utah due to alleged abuse. British Gymnastics released a banned list. Pan Am Games are happening, and we have a lot of Gymternet news to catch up on. It's October 23rd. Welcome to GymCastic, the #1 gymnastics podcast in the galaxy, and I'm here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation. I forgot to say my name. I'm Jessica, by the way. Yeah, let's start with the headlines. It was an eventful weekend. First, let's talk about Kara Eaker. So, Kara Eaker is a 2-time team world champion, Tokyo Olympic alternate, was going into her junior year at University of Utah. She got 2 10s on beam, hit 23 of her 24 career routines. In club, she was coached at Gage by Al Fong and Armene Bouteng. She is an extremely accomplished gymnast, both in elite and in college. And why do I mention this? Because competition results don't always match emotional reality.
Yeah, so on Friday, Kara Eaker released a statement that she is retiring from gymnastics, withdrawing from the University of Utah entirely. And I encourage everyone to read the whole statement to get the whole impression of it. But she said, "For 2 years while training with the Utah gymnastics team, I was a victim of verbal and emotional abuse. As a result, my physical, mental, and emotional health has rapidly declined. I have recently been diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression, anxiety-induced insomnia, and I suffer from panic attacks, PTSD, and night terrors." And this is coming on the heels of, there was an article all this offseason about Tom Farden as a head coach, complaints against him, investigation into his coaching that ultimately then found, essentially, they said, I'm summarizing that he did some things that weren't great and were keeping him, and nothing rose to the level of a safe sport violation. Right? That's basically what the summary of what the investigation said. Kara Eaker now has said this, and I think what's interesting to me and what I was thinking about a lot when reading this is the importance of reading a personal account like this, if someone's able to do so, and how different that can be to seeing things out of context or reading a third party by a third party. Like, it was using the example of, she gives some quotes of things that she does not name Tom Farden in this. We're extrapolating based on context.
He one time and context, yes.
Based on context that this is what's happening. But to be clear, she never uses the name Tom Farden in any of this. But the quotes that she uses, I was thinking about what, like, the difference it is between a personal account and if you saw those out of context or in another article. Like, if an article just wrote, Tom Farden is accused of saying, "Get your head out of your ass," you would have a lot of people reading that and thinking, well, my coach in high school said 10 horrible things that were worse than that every day before I got out of bed and walked uphill to both ways in the snow, kind of thing. You would have those reactions, and that's probably true. Your coach probably did say all of those horrible things. But I think when you see it within the context of how Cara was feeling, what she did, where she was, what she did in response, then what happened in response to that, you really get a much richer and more easier to understand sense of why you have quite a few gymnasts at this point, Utah gymnasts at this point, saying this place wasn't okay. There weren't okay things happening here. And I think, ultimately, the worst indictment of the Utah program in this is that Cara, by her account, did what you'd hope someone would be able to do in this situation, which is, she says, when I spoke up for myself and said, I can't work like this, I don't do well when you yell at me, which is what you want someone to say, like, what you're doing is not healthy for me. This isn't working for me. And it doesn't sound like there was an adjustment, an attempt to be the coach that she needed to help her through what was obviously a difficult time. And that's why, you know, that's the kind of thing that gives you the context of the anger in this program and what's been happening and why so many gymnasts, you know, why it got to the point where there was an investigation into it. One that Kara is clearly says, you know, she feels was incomplete and is not happy with the conclusions that it found.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. She went through the process, right? It's that she says she talked to the AD. We know there was an investigation. Tom Farden put out a statement after the investigation that says, and this is the Utah Salt Lake Tribune, quote, "I take very seriously the concerns that were expressed about my behavior and my coaching methods. It has been painful to learn of the negative impacts that my words and actions have created, and I have thoroughly examined the accounts of every person who shared their experiences through their participation in the program review." In general, I feel like, to Spencer's point, there are a lot of people who might hear this and say, haven't you ever watched a documentary about men's sports? This is how every coach talks to them. This is normal. There's like, we were talking about the Rexman documentary that we both enjoy. And like, literally, this is the description of what, you know, it sounds like Tom Farden is accused of. These are exactly how the men are being coached. And I feel like, yeah, but we allow men to be abused because that's supposed to make them men, quote unquote. So I want to like clarify some things about that, which is, what is emotional abuse as opposed to someone just like being a jerk? And some of the definitions of that are hurtful tactics rooted in one's emotions used to manipulate and mistreat, including criticism, humiliation, and control, seeking to control through belittling, criticizing, and gaslighting. Kara Eaker survived Gage, her club gym, but Utah and Tom's coaching was enough for her to quit gymnastics. Like, that says a lot to me. And I just think there is the way people feel, like when we say start by believing, people's symptoms, how they feel, their symptoms are real. That's the thing. And I think when I talk about coaches not being able to manage their programs and not being suited to manage their programs, I think there are coaches who are not taking seriously the emotional repercussions of what's happening to their gymnasts and not treating them as human beings first instead of gymnasts.
To that point, the other thing I would say is, like, the other thing that's really stood out to me that I think a lot of college coaches can take from that, even if they will read this and say, like, well, I don't swear at my gymnasts or I don't talk to them like that. The other thing that it starts with, I think, is the promises of the sisterhood or the family you would experience. Like, recruiting lies have effects. Like, we kind of joke about, like, everything you hear in the recruiting process is a lie, but like, they really do. Like, the things that you say to get a gymnast to want to go there, they can take those to heart. And then if it's not true, they're gonna, you know, you started your relationship with that athlete with a lie, and then how do you, you know, build the trust necessary to coach a former elite, basically.
Yep. I also think that, just to put Gage in context, we have a lot of new listeners who may not know about Gage, but Al Fong's the head coach at Gage, along with his wife, Armene, from the Soviet Union. And Al Fong has many, 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 many safe sport complaints about him. And he's one of the coaches like Valery Lukin who have, you know, 50 to 30 safe sport complaints against them, but are not on any list. Not on any safe sport list, not on a suspended list, not on a, hey, you can't be alone with gymnast list. So I just want to add that for context. So we wish Cara well. Let's talk about Jessica Gadirova. We have news on her injury.
Yes. So we talked about this a little bit on behind the scenes, but we know it's an ACL now that Gadirova injured at Worlds. And because at Worlds, she began the competition, competed in the team final, withdrew midway through the competition, didn't participate in her individual finals. So this is about, and then there's a lot of talk about, okay, what's the Paris timeline? Because this time of year, this time of the cycle, anytime you hear about an injury, you're like, how is this going to affect Paris? So this is 9.5 months out of the Olympics. So I did want to look at
everyone was catastrophizing. And I was like, it's almost 10 months away. Anyway, don't catastrophize. And Spencer has data for you. So you don't just have to listen to my feelings.
No, I'm talking to you here because you're always like, if you're not back after 6 months, you're
didn't
useless.
say that. I literally said everyone's different. Like 6 to 9 months. You should be fine if you're an elite athlete.
Should be fine.
But I also said everyone is different. It depends on the extent of the injury. Also, it depends on the strength you start with, your ability to handle pain, and all your mental health, because the recovery process is really gnarly and depressing. Anyway, I just feel like we should start from a place of hope. And then if it doesn't work out, it's fine. But this isn't the end.
Well, what I was going to say was I was looking at sort of comparable ACL injuries. You guys, we've been on vacation for 2 weeks after this, isn't it? So since Worlds.
Well, we don't know they're comparable. We only know there were other ACL tears. We don't know the extent. Like if there were other ligaments, meniscus, broken fragments, all that stuff.
Other ACL injuries.
Go ahead.
Never mind. It's not worth even saying it.
No, say it. I just said
this is a reasonable timeline.
That's
what I'm saying. It's a reasonable timeline. Other people are kind of within this range of your kind of best case scenarios. I was actually started by trying to find out what's the fastest I could find an athlete, a gymnast tearing their ACL and then coming back. So if you have examples that you think of are really fast, like I was looking at Aliyah Mustafina when she tore her ACL at 2011 Euros, which is in the spring. She was back for domestic competition in Russia that December. That was one of the fastest comebacks I could find, but interested to see others. So that was like 8 months.
Yep, 8 months. And then, I also looked at studies today to see. I was like, let me check my education is 20 years old now. So let me look back at the data. And women, professional athlete women, not just any women, like you're an elite athlete. Yeah, 8 months. 8 to 9 months is a reasonable timeline. But again, everybody's different. So it totally depends. And then there was also there's some studies that said, the earlier you come back, the more incidence there is of a second ACL tear. So, it depends on the person. You looked at Andrade, how fast she came back in 2019.
Yeah. From that's her third ACL at that point, which was 9 months from that to Baku 2020 when she competed. But her second ACL was 11 months. Sharpie has had 2 successive ACLs, almost back to back. And the first one was 9 months. The second one was 13 months. So these are kind of the ranges of realistic. So if she doesn't come back from the Olympics, it does not speak negatively to her ability to recover.
Right, exactly. Everyone's different. So what my point was more not to the athletes, but I always feel like the fans immediately, this is why no gymnast should ever go on social media, are immediately like, oh my God.
This is number like 20 of the reasons,
150.
but it's in there.
Just delete all your social media and assign it to someone who you don't have to ever look at it. But I just feel like fans catastrophize this as the worst thing ever. But many, 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 many elite athletes come back from ACL tears. And they do it in, like you can see here, 8 to 12 months, 8 to 13, there's a range. So, and also Jessica Gadirova is still a teenager. She can have a career into her 30s or 40s, like Barbara Ochondo, who competed from Chile, who's 40 and has 2 kids and competed at Pan Am's in the finals today. So, I just feel like we all need to take a breath. It's not the end of the world. This isn't like the 80s where it was like ACL, you're over. They just wheel you out into the parking lot and dump you off. And then that's it. The 80s. So
I don't, but sounds horrible.
It was horrible. Oh. So basically, but hopefully Gadirova, they just sent her directly to Germany for her surgery or whatever it is. All the Europeans go to that hospital in Switzerland or Germany. And the minute she got back from Worlds, had that surgery and she'll have extra time to be ready. So I'm not worried. We also got a little bit of a Josc Roberson, robbing your D-scores update from Cecile via Scott Bregman of the Olympic Channel. That Cecile said she's in a boot for another ... Now it should be another 2.5 weeks. Lots of rehab, no surgery. Getting ready for next year.
Good news. Club Gym Nerd, you get discounts and first dibs on live show tickets, an extra whole podcast every week, athlete dossiers for major competitions, code guides, options to commission your own segments. It also makes a great gift. Check it out at gymcastic.com at the Join the Club tab.
It was the second day of women's competition at Pan Ams. We had team finals today. We had the all-around final, and we know who qualified to the Olympics.
We do, yes. Okay, so women's all-around final. As we record right now, depending on when you're listening to this, we do not know what has happened in event finals. You might, but we just watched the women's all-around final where Kayla DiCello won the all-around title, very close with Flavia. It ended up just a little more than a tenth over Flavia Saraiva.
And that's after Flavia got her score bumped, her D score bumped. So she was at like 13 something, then she got up to a 14-1.
She got her D score bumped up on beam for rotation 3. Rotation 4, she had some downgrades on floor. She didn't do everything she was doing at Worlds. I think she had a strong performance overall, though. I think the most remarkable routine of that entire event final, or that entire all-around final, was Flavia's floor and how she did not go out of bounds. And
everyone went out of bounds.
There was some sort of witchcraft. Like, she had 2 separate landings where I was like, it is not physically possible to keep that bounce in bounds. And suddenly her foot was down like right in the corner. And I'm like, so this is magic. You're not real. That's, I think,
magic is
we
great.
Didn't already know that.
We recommend it for all gymnasts.
I highly recommend Flavia Magic just for everybody.
Yeah, in general.
I saw a lot of people watching Flavia's beam, but none of them had notebooks in front of them to take notes on what everyone can learn from watching a Flavia Saraiva beam routine, which I think is always important.
The note is take out your ring leaps. That should be everyone's
it doesn't
note.
Look
just
like exactly like that. Yeah.
Jordan Childs,
all bronze, had qualified in first, had trouble on bars in the all-around final. So she did her Maloney that she usually connects to the Ginger. Her backswing was weird. I assumed that she couldn't quite get her grip over or something was off. So she couldn't connect to the Ginger and ended up adding a couple empty swings there on the high bar before doing the Ginger. And those, it's 5/10 an empty swing. So those really add up. But she came back from that and did, I think, her best beam of the year. It was super solid. Beam.
Also impressive.
I was impressed. Are you going to talk about the team her beam in the team competition?
I want to talk about first
9 hours.
First, I want to talk about how she just did a Ginger out of an empty swing. I mean, it wasn't her best Ginger, but this is elite gymnast. You're just like swing, whoosh, Ginger. But she had some wobbles. It wasn't a super solid beam routine in prelims, and then that was like the best beam she's done all year.
Mm-hmm. Easily. That was the most solid beam she's done. Yeah, definitely all year.
She did have to wait so long in the prelims or team finals, which is the same as prelims, that she literally got off the podium. And then my favorite thing in the whole world happened. The slow clap started. The audience was done with it, and I love them.
Well, this was the delay to get Tiana Sumanaseka's beam score, which was easily over 10 minutes. Like, there was something really wrong.
And we never found out, right, if it was a digital electronic problem or if it was a judge's problem.
No, a mechanical problem. The crank on the score machine, she broke. Yeah, we never did. My guess was it was a technical problem because of how long it took and because both times this kind of long delay happened, the live scores also crashed at the same time. So that was also why I inferred that it was kind of probably technical rather than they took 10 minutes to decide whether Tiana had done a switch ring or not, which at a certain point, just pick one. I don't even care. I don't know.
You and I had the same favorite moment on bars today.
Tell me, what was your favorite moment on bars?
Ava Stewart's double front
Ava
pipe.
Stewart, yeah.
Her double front pipe.
I do love that. dismount.
So good. It's so hard. I mean, the thing is that she does it so beautifully. And every time I'm like, she's definitely going to die and dislocate everything. And she doesn't. And it's fine. Like, it's the safest, most terrifying bar dismount. And that is so impressive because there's a reason nobody does this. Because it's already hard enough to keep your knees on when you do a double anything and land forward. But she does it piked. And she also has the strongest landing gear in all of gymnastics.
That was the most beautiful deep squat I've ever seen on a landing.
Her knees were parallel. It was like I had no worries. She was just a deep squat and I stand because I do the Canadian strength program. And you could launch me off of a planet and I could still land perfectly without hurting my knees. Yeah, amazing.
She also hit her back handspring, back tuck full series on BM. So she definitely won the Risk Originality Virtuosity Award from this all-around final. I'm giving it to Ava Stewart because cool, unusual elements that are super hard, and she went for them in the final, and she hit both of them.
I also enjoyed watching Barbara Ochanda, who from Chile is 40, I mentioned earlier. We've talked, literally since we started this podcast 11 years ago, we've been talking about her. And she's still making finals. But I realized what it is about her that's so different that I've never seen in another gymnast ever. And that's that she has turnout in everything. And it's so unusual that I always think there's something she has something wrong with her feet or she has a broken ankle situation, there's flippers sort of happening, but then her feet are totally pointed and perfect, but it's because she's doing it right with turnout, and it's so foreign to my gymnastics eyeballs that I think there's something wrong. But she's amazing and just serving floor as usual, putting on a clinic. Artistry, yeah, I've always done it this way. You're welcome. Thanks for making the rules match my gymnastics again. Anyway, huge shout out to Bama and Colombia, because they just qualified.
Luisa Blanco. Yeah, Luisa Blanco qualified a spot for herself at the Olympics by being the top eligible finisher in the all-around final. She finished 8th. We got to see her bars and her vault on the stream. She kind of capped it off with a beautiful college Yurchenko 1.5, where she was like, oh, yeah, we do this every week in NCAA. I'm going to do a beautiful Yurchenko 1.5 and kind of fakey stick it. Stuck it a little bit and then quickly salute. This is what we learned. This is what we do. This is my advertisement. This is her advertisement for college gymnastics there. I was like, this is how we vault. This is what we do.
You want to be able to vault like this? Come to college gymnastics in the U.S. Unless you're from another country where you can't make any NIL money. You can watch all of your teammates make thousands of dollars, but you as a foreign athlete can't get paid. But I do want to say Lindsey Brown also had a really nice vault.
She did have a really nice vault. There's only one, there was only one position available, but a nice improvement over, she gained 0.5 on her team, her prelim score. So that was nice as well. And she added difficulty on bars. No, toe full. She added a toe full at the beginning, but then she kind of tucked her double layout. She totally
tucked her double layout. So she did a double tuck dismount.
Well, she tucked it, but I think she also got super deducted for not being in a tuck shape. Because she just kind of bent her knees. So it's definitely you're getting tucked credit because your knees are bent, but there was not enough of a hip angle to get tucked. To be a tuck shape. Tuck. So I think she probably got a ton of deductions on that for being kind of in between a shape.
Yes. So she added difficulty on the bar, but lost difficulty off the bar. And added some deductions, is what we're saying. But her vault... excellent.
Yeah.
What the leotard Haiti put her in, not so much. I didn't care for it. She's so beautiful, that leotard. I was like, Haiti, what are you doing? Why did you do this to her? But she is wonderful.
Maybe she picked it.
Maybe she did. I'm just saying, let's talk. The U.S. women.
Yes, they won the team competition. They won team qualification competition with a 165. So compared to the U.S. team at Worlds in qualification, where they scored a 171. So that's kind of what you would expect for Simone's not here. But I think that reflects a good performance for the group that was there. Brazil, silver medal as a team on a 160. Almost their Worlds team, but no Oliveira. And so they had to count a 10 on bars, which those things are linked. So it was a different performance without having Oliveira on bars. And Andrade did not do floor. She did the other three and made all three event finals, obviously. But she didn't do floor. A couple other downgrades. But, other than counting that 10 on bars, I think it was another really good performance for the Brazilian team that I was impressed by, because I kind of, you would expect it would have been reasonable if they were like, you guys, we did so well and now we're sleepy.
We're so tired.
We're so tired. I can't do this.
I mean, this is the thing about them. They have really grown a program that is sustainable with adult athletes in a way that I don't think many other programs have. Like, where they consistently healthy and can compete a lot. Not just once a year. They compete a lot. I mean, Worlds, DiCello going to Worlds as an alternate and then competing here. The Canadian team, almost all of them competing here except Ellie. Like, that's crazy to do competitions like that in back-to-back. But they also looked fine doing they had some consistency issues, but like didn't look like they were going to die, which is the main thing that I'm looking for. Like, do you look like you're being held together by hopes and dreams? And they did really well.
For me, that's the biggest change this year versus previous years, because I feel like in previous years it was kind of like, are you going to be able to last through this competition? How are you being held together? And is it by the Flavius floor magic? Because it's not enough. You need more.
Flavius floor magic. Most importantly, we have to talk about that Kalia Lincoln didn't do all around, which I'll never be over it, even though maybe it's because of her shoulder, and so she chose not to do all around and whatever, but I'm still not over it.
Still not over, because top US score on beam and floor. Obviously. So she'll be in both of those finals. And I feel like vindication for everyone, meaning specifically the two of us on the show, saying her floor is going to score so much better than everyone else's if you send her to a meet, by being the top qualifier on floor and getting a 13.8 even with a 3/10 out of bounds.
Yeah. So,
yeah, not her best landing and still getting a 13.8, something that would have been well into the 14s had she stayed in bounds, which is kind of on par with how she was scoring in the US, which speaks better of the US maybe floor scoring, if that's equivalent to what we saw at Pan Am's. Yeah, and Somo, doesn't sound like she needed extra international experience. In case that was a reason to keep her off the Worlds team, looks like she did pretty well with her minimal international experience here. Now I'll shut up about it. Now I'll stop. I'll stop.
I do wonder if they were like, we know you have a shoulder thing. We don't want you to put you through Worlds. What's the difference?
Let's put you through Pan Am's instead.
I mean, it's really absolutely no different. It's just less days of competition, but I mean, that's the thing. If you make all the finals, I mean, yeah, I think the only thing that, you can hit everything if you're, but it's the learning curve of Worlds is, especially this last Worlds, is if you make all the finals, it's so long. So you just ask Simone, like, how have you done it? Like, do you just like eat 100 more calories every day? Not 100, 1,000, 3,000. I don't know, just more. Not forget the calories. Like, how do you do it? Do you use it extra coffee? Is it just extra pizza? Like, extra waffles? Like, how do you keep your energy up through the whole thing? Because it is so long. So yeah, but anyway, she's going to win everything, and as she should, and it's going to be great. So event finals are happening Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah. Andrade is in 3 finals. Zoe Miller's the top bars qualifier. Ava Stewart, top beam qualifier. That was exciting.
Ava Stewart from Canada.
So, yes, so should be good. Looking forward to it. Because this is our last big elite meet of the year. We still have the Swiss money meets, thankfully.
Yeah.
But, then it's like, got to start thinking about college. Got to get ready with those college rule changes, of which there's like one.
Yep.
But also the men's competition at Pan Am. So Andres Reyes of the Dominican Republic got the 1 Olympic spot available for men in the all-around final that was just before the women's all-around final. Felix Dolce of Canada won the all-around. Was leading, fell on high bar, and so it was kind of touch and go there for a little bit, but he had enough of a lead. Diogo Soares of Brazil was silver, and then Donnell Wittenberg, top U.S. men's performer at the Pan Am Games, got the bronze.
What do you think of that? And for team, the U.S. men won. Second was Canada, and then Brazil third. Is that right for the men team?
You know, I wasn't paying attention to the men's team competition.
I'm pretty sure.
What do you
I just
take me
look.
for?
I look at whatever Kensley posts. Also, Audrey's Reyes, you guys remember him? He's a great vaulter. He's from the DR, right? And he is like, he's the one that had like a music video or like riding around motorcycles and whatever that disappeared. Anyway, he's a character and we enjoy him very much. Now let's discuss from Antwerp to Paris. What have we learned? Where are we going? And what are some rules, adjustments / clarifications that we should have?
I think looking ahead to Paris, I would say one of the exciting continuing developments for me from Worlds this year was how we're in kind of an era of historic medal unpredictability when it comes to women's team, at least in the silver and bronze category, because we had 2022, Great Britain and Canada, silver and bronze, 2023, Brazil and France, both Canada and France, huge surprises to win team medals. And then we have, group doesn't even include Italy, who I don't think anyone would be surprised to see them in the medal picture in 2024 if they can get even just a little bit healthy. Just like a little bit healthy. Just Italy, we're asking for a little bit. Or China, which had a very strong competition, kind of all things considered, like not in the grand scheme of Chinese gymnastics. Probably it's not gonna, make a huge impact based on, historically previous accomplishments. But I think for this group right now for China, that was a really encouraging performance and one that you could build on and was a really good result. So you have two, like in Italy and China, neither have a team medal this triennium and would be very reasonable medalists in Paris, in addition to teams that have won team medals in the last couple of years. So that's very exciting for me, because even in like the era of the 10, which allegedly is more unpredictable because like a fall mattered and you weren't just like, I'm going to win a medal anyway, even with a million falls because I have a high D score. You had so much of like, Soviet Union and Romania, and depending on the era, like Soviet Union, Romania, East Germany. And you kind of knew like that was going to be the podium. And now we have like legitimately 7-8 team medal. Legitimate Italy.
We have
legitimately 7 to 8 countries that could win a women's team medal at the Paris Olympics, which is very exciting to me.
I want a t-shirt now that's legitimate Italy put together for a podium in Paris. I want to talk about my first rule adjustment.
Sure.
And I want to put it in context with the men's gymnastics. How do I want to say it? Exploiting the rules.
I never know.
It's not exploiting the rules. It's you maximizing the rules as they are written to your advantage, which is what sport's all about.
You call those loopholes.
Yeah, exploiting the loopholes, which good for you for finding the loopholes. Okay.
So would you like to tell me what you're getting at
here? Let me tell you what I'm getting at.
What the point was?
The adjustment / clarifications that we need after this world.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
5 gymnasts. You can only use 5 gymnasts after you use an alternate. That is the rule that I'm seeking. And most people are like, what do you mean? Once you use an alternate, we all know that you can't put someone back in. But that's not the case, because China was able to use 6 gymnasts throughout the competition from qualifications to event finals rather than 5. So they used an alternate and still brought someone in, which means they used 6 all the way to the end. So,
which you are allowed to use, like normal teams would use a 6th gymnast in the case of, normally we see it all the time. Case of an injury, someone else subs in, which is what China initially did for the team final. They sub in Lin Chaopan. The issue came up in event finals where they subbed back in an athlete that they had taken out for the team final, but who had qualified for an event final. So then you subbed someone back in after removing them, which is allegedly supposed to be used only for injury. So
Right.
We're saying a reasonable rule change would be once you're subbed out of the team, you cannot come back. You can't compete in the rest of the competition.
Yeah. And so can you add clarification about why this wouldn't affect the Simone Tokyo rule? And
Simone was never withdrawn from the competition.
Right.
She was still on the team. She competed
replaced
in the team final. She was never replaced by an alternate.
Never used an alternate, so it's a different scenario.
So
and that's the thing. Like, you can not compete, but then still come back. It's the use of an alternate and then bringing back someone that was replaced by the alternate is, I think, the loophole that maybe we should tighten up, or just let everybody use more gymnasts. You know what I think? We should have at least 8. 1 specialist for each event, and then no more for the men. Just 1 specialist for each event, because they already have all the extra events anyway. But 8 gymnasts, and then that's how you make your team, because I love event specialists. So I want to talk about Hashimoto and his 3rd all-around title.
Yeah.
Also the Olympic
2021 champion. Olympics, 2022 Worlds, 2023 Worlds. I think one of the other interesting thing I'm looking forward to for Paris is it's kind of a situation where Hashimoto won his 3rd major all-around title in the last, couple years, like not even, not 3 years, and in the process became less of a favorite for the Paris Olympics, almost, because he had to be artificially promoted to the all-around final. Strategically fine, everyone sounds like they're on board with it, but he didn't originally qualify for the all-around final, had to be put in, and his scores throughout were not near what Zhang Boheng of China was getting at the Asian Games. Different competitions, different scoring potentially, but it's a weird thing where you have this amazing competition and amazing accomplishment, but become maybe less of a favorite.
Yeah.
Because Zhang Boheng was getting like 88.
I know, that's the thing. Yeah. So one other thing I want to talk about in terms of adjustments and clarifications. The finals reserve lists. So
I wonder why this came up. Was there a controversy?
So we had 9 people in the vault final, which I'm like, great, more people in finals. I'm fine with that. But I think that the problem was by going by a computer printout rather than the actual scores and the rules.
Computer printout?
Yeah, literally, they print. I know you don't use them, but yes, it is. It's a mimeograph. It gets all over your hands. Yeah. So basically, what I think that they need to do is now the computer needs to show the person that has been eliminated because of 2 per country, instead of just listing, here are the people qualified and here are the 2 reserve athletes, or 3, or whatever it is. It should be, the list should be by, here is X athlete, let's say Josc Roberson, this is what happened. Then subheading indented, here's Lian Wang with this score. So if either Simone or Josc come out, this person goes in, because they were 2 per country, didn't have a higher score than the people below them on the list. And then you go down with the rest of the list. So it's just obvious to anyone who's looking, because right now you don't necessarily know there's a person who was 2 per country that has a higher scores than the rest of the qualifiers on the list. So you can't just go by the printout or whatever happened that caused the FIG to put in a gymnast who had a lower score than Lian Wang into the finals. And then we had 9 people, and then that messed up the whole Olympic qualifying situation for Hungary, and we are waiting for the lawsuit / Court of Sport of Arbitration case to come up. So,
or to put it another way, include 2 per country gymnasts on the reserve list.
Yes. In order. Yeah.
Yes. No, out of order. I want to definitely include everyone out of order. Which, I mean, I say it sarcastically, but it could happen.
I mean, this is why I said in order.
We've seen worse. We've seen worse.
The other thing the thing that I really, 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 really bothered me, and I don't know if Olga and Nadia had the same issues when they were really big news and on the cover of magazines and all of the things that made people really famous back in the day. But you can't treat Simone Biles like everyone else, and you can't have a competition that's organized, like past competitions, when somebody like a Nadia, Olga, Simone Biles is going to be there, because number one, your security concerns are not the same. There was no security beyond flashing a credential or showing your ticket. Absolutely no security. People are bringing suitcases and whole bags into the arena that were not checked, including the media. There should be real security, real X-ray machines. There should be real security on the floor. Have we learned nothing from the attacks on athletes in other sports? I'm not worried about Paris, because Paris, Olympics have so much security because it's such a huge target that I don't think this is an issue for the Olympics, but it definitely is an issue going forward for World Championships. There also, literally while we were in Belgium, wasn't there a shooting at a soccer game in Belgium while we were there, or shortly after we left?
I don't know if you were still there, but yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, I think that it's naive to think we're not like America. Like, everyone doesn't have a gun that they can carry openly in a holster. It's not Texas. But yeah, I just think this is a concern everywhere. And the other thing is they need to hold a press conference for athlete safety. Honestly, there was you guys know the story about what happened at the press conference, and, people being essentially assaulted, me and Deanna. And it's just not fair to the athlete, because everyone asks them the same question, and it's just a bad situation. I just think you can't, when you have an athlete that's bigger than the sport, you can't treat it like, well, it's just like everybody else. We can't make any special exceptions. When you have had press conferences in the past many, many, many times, that's just not an excuse. And not having a room is an excuse either, because you just put up a tent wherever you need it. The other situation, now, Spencer, let me know what you think about this.
I often do.
Did you notice the beam was backwards?
No.
Meaning,
how do you make a beam backwards?
The mount mat and the dismount mat were on the opposite sides that they normally are in relationship to the judges. So not in relation to north, south, west or whatever, but the judges are normally, so if the judges are, you usually mount where they had the dismount mat. So when you mount, the judges are normally on your left.
Competition?
It was like that the whole competition, but it's not like that normally at the competition. Normally you mount with the judges at your left and you dismount with them at your right. Now, why does that matter? You might ask, Spencer. Did you not notice?
Why does that matter?
That everyone was doing their side choreography with their butts to the judges? All their hula hooping and going through all the planes was just a butt flash at the judges? People choreograph to face the judges.
Which you shouldn't do anyway, because it's not about the judges. It's about the audience.
But they do it.
But you shouldn't. And you should automatically be deducted for pandering anytime you perform to the judges in a floor routine or in a beam routine. And I feel very strongly about that.
Pandering is not the same as just doing your choreography. Okay, so we can
pandering. I think this is great and I think you should have adjusted if you found that I'm facing the wrong way for my side choreography. Do your side choreography the other direction.
You could just half turn it around. That's true. This is like the argument that, no wonder people fall when they have to wait a long time. And it's like, you have to be prepared for anything.
Most people are standing in cross position and then turn, because they're basic, to do their side choreography. All right?
Yeah.
Turn the other way.
So I'd like to hear from our listeners what you guys think about that. The other thing was, there needs to be a rule that only photographers can be on the floor. I don't know if you could see from the videos of Simone during podium training or Simone's vault specifically, but there were so many people around her and literally touching the podium. It was just too many people. Photographers should be on the floor during podium training. Photographers should be allowed on the floor. They know what they're doing. Mostly, you'd hope. If they got a credential, they've proved that they belong there. But not all the press. Just anyone with a press pass can go down on the floor. I just think it's not safe for the athletes. Would I like to be on the floor? Yes, I enjoyed it very much. I like being right next to it and hearing everything everybody says and seeing everything close up. So, in a personal benefit way, it was great. For the athletes, I don't think it's safe. Also, most controversially, Spencer,
Okay.
You know how the U.S. athletes got that email after Classic that was like, we love you and we're not going to take a deduction, but reminder, you can get a deduction for, quote, excessive celebration per the code of points.
Yes, I do remember that.
No twerking or Mario Kart jump full turn Harry Potter video game. Simone Biles happy jumps
Painted
after
a really helpful picture for everyone about that. Yeah.
where you
3
put
times
your
deduction, allegedly.
where you put your fist in the air and do a jump full turn and you're happy. Obviously, why would any sport want people to show their celebration and happiness?
Yeah.
FIG. Okay, so you have to allow celebration. I mean, literally, did you see what Jordan Childs did at Pan Am's after she finished the meet today? Floor?
No?
She walked off floor and did a heel click right when she walked off, and I was like, oh my God.
Good for her.
They could, exactly. Good for her. Like, do you want to, and like there was tons of this at Worlds, like lots of, especially from the men, you know, they like scream and make muscles and like do their like, you know.
And make muscles and also make muscles because it's the one pose. When
It's
you make
the
a male
one
gymnast
pose.
do a thing, like for an intro, they're like, what am I? Do I have personality? Strong, I'm strong. Muscle pose. That's what
it is
goes
also
through.
my favorite pose, but yes, none of the men ever get deducted for that. But I just feel like if you want little viral clips, if you want to show the personalities of gymnasts, if you want to create stars, like FIG, like allow people to go, you know, a little nuts when they're happy with themselves. That will be a good thing. Yeah. So let us know what you guys think. If there's any other additions you think we should make to this list, gymcastic@gmail.com, or you can put them on the forum at gymcastic.com. And
in addition to the allowing Laurent to etc. coaches to be there for spotting on non-pairs events, which we have discussed, but is going to be a point of contention, you know, after Paris for any potential rule changes.
It has been run up the flag to the athlete rep, which is Catalina Panor. So hopefully that will happen. Yeah, in addition to serious things like that, like allow spotting on vault and bars for
but also
men
mostly silly things.
Mostly allow people to celebrate and have a little dance and do whatever they want to do. The other thing I wanted to bring up that I think are some things that are like kind of like, I mean, I don't want to say it's like a nothing burger, Spencer, but like kind of just some concerns and points to remember about Worlds. Like
that sounded pointed in a way I'm not going to enjoy, but sure, let's go.
Like people have brought up black unitards using the color black.
I did once.
And other people have brought it up to me too. Since. You're not the only person I ever talked to, Spencer. My God.
That's really upsetting information to hear, and I wish you had never said it. And it's the only opinion that matters.
Well, that's true. Some people are saying, Spencer, and other people, it's just the same as men aren't allowed to wear black pants, so women should be allowed to wear black unitards because you can't see the lines for deductions. And my retort to that is men wear skirts, and therefore it's not the same at all. Like even the men that wear the pants, they are basically wearing skirt pants. I don't know what the name for those are. Palazzo pants with stirrups at the end. So it is not the same at all as a skin tight competition unitard that will take you 30 minutes to peel off of your body to pee. So it's not the same. So either enforce it, and if you do, then if women aren't going to be allowed to wear black unitards, then men should have to wear uniforms that fit like the women do. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I agree with your final conclusion. I don't know what these arguments have to do with each other, but sure.
That sexism needs to be applied equally.
What does the fit have to do with whether your leg is blending into the arena background or not?
Because you can't, when something's baggy, it doesn't matter what color it is, you can bend your knee without being seen. That's what it has to do with.
So why I don't care enough about this to continue talking about it.
It's okay. That's why I was saying that's why I said it's a nothing burger. And
Whatever.
I appreciate you agreeing with me, Spencer.
Yeah, I agree. This is not on the top million of concerns that I have. So
the other thing that I kind of think is a nothing burger, even though people will vehemently disagree with me. Vehemently?
Vehemently?
Vehement. They have venom and they're eminent with it. Vehemently. That tons of men pulled out of all-around finals, and like, is that a problem? Do they need to change something? And like, yeah, Worlds is too long, but it doesn't matter if you're going to be in every single final. It's still too long. But I think the men were really smart to pull out of all-around finals, because why do all-around finals if you know that you have no shot at a medal unless you're being paid to compete in all-around final, or you're or you get paid by your ranking, or if you're like the first person ever that's made it, or you're going to be the first person ever to be like in 10th place or whatever. If you know that there's no shot, why compete when like it's more damage on your body and you've made, and this is the caveat, asterisk, when you've made other event finals, why bother with all-around final if you can't?
Or you already made the Olympics and see you later.
You're like, I need a nap. Goodbye. Yeah. Well, and I can see that too.
I would say, but isn't that still a problem? Like, isn't that still something you would want to change? Because you don't want top qualifiers pulling out. That dilutes the strength of the competition. It dilutes it as a viewing experience. So shouldn't you want to adjust to create an environment where there's not a benefit to pulling out, or not an incentive, or people don't feel like they have to or need to protect themselves, which might mean just canceling the sport, which, you know.
All I can think about now is pulling out. It's not safe, you guys. It's not the way to do it. It's not a guarantee. So, anyway, Spencer.
Withdrawing.
Anyway, the important note here is, I mean, I guess, how has there ever been a case of how many people qualified all-around finals? 24?
Yes.
Has there ever been a time when the 20th person won a medal? Has that ever happened?
I don't know what the lowest qualifier to win an all-around final
Someone
is.
who knows, one of our data nerds.
So your new argument is there should be 12 in the all-around final?
No, I just think it's not a big deal if you pull out. If you pull out without telling anybody and the alternate doesn't have a chance to go in, the reserve person, that's like, you know.
I would like to go back in time to when we first had this conversation during Worlds, and I asked you, so a lot of men have pulled out, is this a problem or just one of those things? And you said, it's a problem! It's not just one of those things, and now you have the opposite answer, which I don't
remember saying it was a problem, but my position on these things can evolve. Isn't that what we want from everyone? To change, to evolve, to gather more information, be more informed in their decisions? Thank you.
Start informed, and then you don't have to change.
I just feel
my lesson of the day.
I mean, I feel like when you think about Worlds being too long, yes, it's a problem. When you think about, are these people, do they have a shot to medal anyway? No. So is it a big deal? That's what I'm saying.
I'm not like mad at the gymnasts. I don't think it's a moral failing. No, I think it's that they withdrew. I think that, you know, we should create a Worlds where they don't want to withdraw.
Yes, I agree with that. I think I come from this at the same place where I feel like, let the gymnasts do whatever they want. Like, that's the important thing. As long as everyone's informed and, you know, I mean, like the idea that like there are alternates reserves who didn't have a chance to know that they were the next reserve, so weren't ready to go because someone pulls out and just isn't there and doesn't tell anybody, like that kind of stuff like drives me nuts, because I'm like, this affects other people. It's not just you. But yeah, but I'm interested to know what the solution you guys think. I mean, money. That's a good solution.
Money
or
helps.
Free medical care. I would take that.
They say money can't buy happiness, and I don't know about that.
Okay. Some people just like to give us no strings attached money. They don't want to bother with joining Club Gym Nerd, and so they just donate. You can find our donate button for a no strings attached donation at the bottom of the club page at gymcastic.com/club. So let's get to some Gymternet news. Okay. First of all, I did not see this coming. The head coaches, Nina Durwell's head coaches who've been in charge of the Belgian program, their contracts have been terminated.
Yeah.
So that is really surprising to me. I mean, do you think that they were like, Nina got hurt right before we're hosting Worlds? Goodbye. Or do you think that this is how the whole Belgian team did as a result?
Or is it the results were finally proved an excuse to say, all right, you're out of here?
Because there have been complaints of alleged abuse from those coaches, and Nina's one of the ones that stood up for them. And this is according to Sporza.be. So Mary Lou Retton has been in the hospital. She had, quote, a rare form of pneumonia, according to her kids, and she was in the ICU. She is now home and recovering. Fans were really divided about her daughters putting up a fundraising plea. Her daughter said that Mary Lou Retton was uninsured, which I'm sure was like shocking to people because Mary Lou Retton has been, a working spokesperson for 40 years. But welcome to America. People are uninsured. It's, But anyway, she seems to be doing better now. The IOC suspended the Russian committee. So we did talk about this briefly. Basically, let me put this succinctly. Russia was
I would love if you would put this succinctly.
Russia was like, oh, we're going to add these sections of Ukraine into our Russian Olympic Committee from the country we invaded.
Start from this part. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then the IOC was like, oh, no, you don't. And you're out. So you can't try to just add another country that you invaded and are currently waging war on. So they said specifically, IOC reserved the right to decide about the participation of individual neutral athletes. So the IOC in March 2023, those rules still are in place. So this doesn't mean that the Russian athletes definitely cannot compete. So athletes with a Russian passport in the Olympic Games in Paris and the Winter Games in Milano may or may not be able to compete. So that is still a thing, even though the Olympic Committee was like, oh, you can't add invaded country. Also, Fujitsu. People have been asking for the update on Fujitsu. So Fujitsu is the robot judging that collects all the data on the gymnasts, and the gymnasts don't have a way to profit from this data, but they sponsor the FIG. I don't have any problems with it. Obviously, it's not super problematic in terms of data, and you're allegedly allowed to opt out of it, as the U.S. team has been advised to do. But how do you have evidence that didn't collect anything on you? Is my question. So the new update on Fujitsu is they have added AI solution that uses cameras instead of sensors, and it's supposed to be faster and more accurate. So faster and more accurate. We like that.
Compared to what? We haven't seen any.
I mean, that's
where Fujitsu, we've kind of heard a lot of promises here and not a lot of anything.
You know my theory on this, because I mean, this is the thing. They used it 2019. They used it at the World Championships, and it was used only to go to, like, if there was a debate about a score. They started using it in 2017, but that was the first one that was like actually supposed to be part of the scores. And if it went to an inquiry, but we don't have anything on our end as like viewers of the gymnastics to benefit from this. Like, that is the thing that I am waiting for. The article said that it's going to be used in the future to help with broadcasts. And this is according to the AIauthority.com. So then they did have a press conference about this at Worlds too. So I'm waiting to see that. But my theory is that really Fujitsu is like, what we really want is all the data on human movement of like the greatest human movers in the world. And then we're going to use it to make our robots that will build things in factories. That's what I would do if I was paying this much money to, and here it is. In the article, the technology is part of the Fujitsu's U-Vents, quote, which delivers innovative solutions that address business challenges and solve societal issues to help with challenges in industries, including healthcare, retail, manufacturing, and entertainment. So, like, one of the benefits for this is you could literally have, a robot that helps if you need someone at home to care for a loved one. You could have your robot who like picks them up and moves them. And so you don't have to like have all this equipment in your house. Like, that would be so great. Like Humans. Have you watched Humans? Oh my God, this is the dream. You have like an AI assistant who helps you with everything. Did you watch?
I thought you were going to say, this is so that you can have a Simone in your house, just do Simone's gymnastics as needed to improve your mood.
I love that. No, that's the secret plan to have really use this data for soldiers. So you can have a Simone-based soldier, which would obviously be completely unbeatable in every way. Trinity, as in University of Florida, Trinity, elite gymnast who is now making her comeback. So
Trinity Thomas.
There's no other Trinity, Spencer.
I know.
There's it's a Simone.
What
and
about
a
the Holy Trinity, Jessica?
Aaliyah, Simone, and Yordaki, you mean? That Holy Trinity? Okay, so Trinity Thomas was among a panel who urged lawmakers to create national standards that enable college athletes to profit from their NIL stuff. Now, this is according to UPI.com. The reason that this is so important and why I feel like Florida was brilliant to send Trinity Thomas to testify at Congress was because essentially right now, every state has different rules. And it's not just the state, it's your like college board has different rules about NIL. So some schools I have heard are paying gymnasts as much as $60,000 during season on top of their scholarships. And others,
or so that they can tell gymnasts they don't have to be on scholarship because here's the money.
Right. You don't need it because school will be so cheap for you. It doesn't even matter that you're out of. Yeah. If you wonder why people are transferring in their senior year and all of a sudden they would still be on scholarship at one school where they're doing really well and compete and maybe won national championships or almost won them, then they go to another school, it's because they're going to make more money there. And so you can see how some schools would be totally at a disadvantage if their state doesn't allow all the money bags to be thrown at people. And also good for the athletes for going where they're going to make money. You can only do this for so long in life. As we know from, how old is Chuso now? 45? 50? You can only do it for,
It's not a number. Chuso doesn't have a number anymore.
You can only do it for 48 Chuso years. So it's...
Her age is no longer an age. It's just a symbol. It's just Chuso.
So anywho, good for Florida for being like, we have someone who'll speak to Congress. Also fix all the insane things that are happening in Florida. You'd think that Florida could just fix this real quick and make it happen the way that their governor is going off over there. Did you see this article about Yang Wei? It's from this SCMP news. The article title was Olympic Gymnast Can't Breathe and has to have an apparatus. And I was like, what is this? Like, what happened to him? An accident? Did he have like a C-spine injury? Why can't he breathe? It was a whole article just about how he has sleep apnea.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, it's just sleep apnea. They make it sound like he's going to die or like no one has ever heard of sleep apnea before. Sleep apnea apparently is a thing for athletes. Just FYI. Not just the elderly. Like you think it'll never happen to you and then you need your gallbladder out. Suni did an interview with Self magazine where she talked about her diagnosis. She gave more details of the diagnosis. She talked about how she gained an insane amount of water weight, including that she said she gained 40 pounds of water weight, which it seems like absolutely a crazy amount, but more about her kidney condition. The other thing that she said is that she alleges that Auburn did not do any blood work on her when she was sick. Just did, I think, urinalysis. And she praised the USA Gymnastics doctor a lot in this article. But she still does not want to reveal her diagnosis. So we got some more details about when she said it started and all that stuff, but nothing else more about exactly what happened. Let's see. Other things that happened. This is big news. British Gymnastics has finally published a list of banned coaches. Finally. The irony of this list, there's only 62 names on it. That seems pretty short, a pretty small list. But Gymnastics for Change said other coaches who met the criteria and should have been included on the list are not. So I agree too. I was like, 62? That's like 1 week. In the US, there's that many coaches going in and off the list. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it just 62 names just does not seem big enough. So Gymnastics for Changes, Gymnasts for Change is still working on some names. Dave Tilley over at Shift Movement Science, doctor of physical therapy, has just released a book called The Gymnastics Culture Cure. It's a step-by-step workbook to improve your happiness and performance in gymnastics, and has checklists. You know he'll have a book with worksheets. Do you love a worksheet? Spencer, I know you loved a worksheet. Come on. Not a self-improvement one, but...
Oh, God. Can you imagine? No. But, yeah. I mean, I like a list. Is what we're saying. I like a list.
Yeah. Allie Raisman also is coming out with, like Maggie Nichols, a book, but hers is going to be a children's book. And the book is going to be called From My Head to My Toes, and it's about consent. I love this because I'm always looking for books to give to my nephews and nieces about consent, even though my nephew knows this very well because every time he tries to punch me, I'm like, what do you have to ask for? Consent. Okay, you can punch me. Just in the stomach. He's not like punching me in the face or anything. Please, Spencer.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to get to some questions? You can send them to us at gymcastic@gmail.com or put them on the forum. Let's see.
Morning Run says, I legitimately snorted water up and out of my nose when Jessica said the French team is the most fun team, hands down, while discussing Colleen Deviard's vault. That was some A+ comedy, and I was so bummed Spencer didn't clock it. Keep doing what you do. Love the show. I totally didn't.
No.
Was that intentional?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just naturally funny. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
At least I did clock pulling out today. So you're welcome.
Did you need to? Was that helpful?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a study on the bias in scoring.
Kurt says, my wife, who loves your podcast, thanks, sent me a link to a podcast from a few weeks ago where you talked about scoring bias in gymnastics. I wanted to let you know that different forms of bias have been studied in gymnastics, which I think you might be interested in them. And Kurt adds links to a few of them.
Yeah, so I will add these links in the show notes so you guys can check these out because we find these very interesting and excellent. Okay, next letter. Pacing Simone.
Manny says, given the result in the vault finals during Worlds and how after floor during the all-around, Simone said something about how her legs felt heavy, does it still not make sense to have rested her in some way? I understand wanting her scores for the team, etc., but I think she's overused even if her skill level and training is so high. I know this has been asked previously, but this came to mind after vault. For 2022, if it is indeed her last competition year, I would love it if Simone did all the skills named after her on every apparatus, though realistically I know it's highly unlikely. However, the crazy fan in me would be jumping out of my seat.
This is a good question. I think the one thing to understand about athletes like pushing themselves to their absolute limits at this level is that's normal to feel like your legs are done. The difference is their recovery time. So they can, instead of being done like for the rest of the day and have to take a nap or like can't barely walk for the rest of the week, when they go do their max, they can recover in 1 to 2 minutes and go back and go again. So it's not many elite athletes have talked about this feeling, and Simone's this is how it's been for her after floor for her entire career in elite. Like the lineups are created on vault around her because she needs more time to recover because she's always last on floor. So I know we have interviews going back to her early days as an elite talking about this.
So do you think vault in the event final has anything to do with fatigue, or if it's just like this is a really hard vault?
It's just a really, really hard vault and doing 2 vaults right away. And yeah, it's also, you're so tired. It's the last
that was the
day.
Point. That's the point.
But no.
But person writing it is making about resting and being tired.
But it's the thing is, they will never. You're gonna be more tired in event finals than you are at the beginning of the meet when you're used on all the events, because it's like World is so fucking long. So that's one thing. But do I think she's overused? No. I mean, what I'm trying to say is like, yes, you're going to be tired and you're going to be more tired, but no, she's not overused. And I think what is hard to adjust to as you get older is you assume that your body can still recover just as fast as it has in the past, but you do have to make adjustments. And like you'll see gymnasts like eating during the competition, and that's another thing. And some gymnasts can't eat during the competition because they'll literally throw up in their next event if they eat anything. But going that long and as you get older, there are things that you have to do differently. And so she might, because she felt like her legs were so dead before that floor final when Chaussee's attacked, it's just so funny still. Maybe she will make some kind of either diet adjustment or therapy adjustment, or, she might have to do what Max Whitlock does, which is like, you just don't use your legs. Like you just, was it Max? Yeah. He literally doesn't stand or do a warm up. He just goes. Shilese also did that on floor. Like she didn't do a warm up and she didn't stand around. So it's another thing, she's, how old is Simone now? 26?
Yeah.
If she's that tired, does she need to make an adjustment? Yes. Is she overused? No, because that's the job.
Okay.
And they'll always put team first. Like, I think you should rest during team and you should just concentrate on event finals, obviously. But are they going to do that? No, because it's team, and blah, blah, blah. I think because you have a chance to win, they won't do that. If it was a country that's like, we're obviously not going to win unless like the bus gets lost with 10 other teams on it and doesn't show up for the competition, then we'll make team a priority. But, okay. 2 per country.
Shell says, a question about subbing in gymnasts. What do you think about countries who take out a gymnast who has qualified for a final in favor of another from that country who was 2 per country out? Thinking most recently about Kazuma Kaya. I don't know the specific circumstances around each time this has happened, but it seems to me there should be a rule to protect an athlete who has earned that spot. I can see occasions where they might be pressured to give it up for a more celebrated gymnast, which seems to me very unfair for them. Thoughts?
When the person who is replaced is the person that wins the whole competition, is it still wrong?
It depends. Well, isn't that like directly a quote from the Rosa Galieva fluff piece? And if winning is all that matters, then the coaches were right. I think Jessica and John Tesh have so much in common. I've always said that.
The same person.
Two peas in a pod. Do you think that the athlete who is removed, whether it be for legitimate injury, whether it be for strategy, whatever, should have to sign something agreeing to their withdrawal?
See, this is the thing. On the one hand, yes, I do think that should happen. On the other hand, it won't matter because if your employer is your gymnastics federation, and you have to do what they say, and you don't have, and then it's like, well, are people going to say yes, but they felt pressured because this is their, there's an imbalance of power and all that stuff. You're never going to get, I feel like the only problem we probably got a really honest answer with this was when, who was the British guy that was replaced? And we were all in a tizzy about it, but then he was like, no, you guys, like, I offered up my spot because my wrist is hurting so bad. I thought I was going to die. So I wasn't going to be able to.
Was that with Niall or was that with?
Well, it was not right.
James Hall.
James Hall and Niall. I get confused when James Hall was left out of the all around from paperwork problem.
Oh, well, yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but I think it should. So, but what if? Here's another scenario. What if it's the reigning all around champion who just had
certainly that shouldn't matter. What have you done for me lately?
I think
prior accomplishments. Being the reigning all around champion doesn't mean you're gonna like make your world's team. Or make the Olympic team the next year. So
should you, how do I ask this? Has your view of this changed as you've gotten older?
I don't think so. Has yours? Is that like?
I was outraged and was like, this is absolutely wrong. No one should ever do this. How can you do this? You didn't earn your spot. You didn't earn your spot. It's not fair. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, there are so many factors that go into this. And, but in general, I think, no, it's totally unfair. And you shouldn't be able to put in, you didn't earn it. You shouldn't be able to have it. Period. End of story.
I think maybe my impressions have changed on things because they were more susceptible to NBC fluff pieces, like as a child. Before you realize like how many lies they are. So maybe I think maybe my impressions of like the Rosa Galieva situation have changed over time. because I'm like, but I've never really been, more interested in the feelings than the results.
I know,
think
that's
we
why
can
this is
say.
so shocking.
I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think I've ever been like felt that Rosa was robbed.
No, I don't think she was going to win or get a medal. But this is the thing. Like, the more I used to just be, I mean, this is the thing that the conclusion I finally realized as a grown up: sports aren't fair, just like nothing is fair. So no matter how much you try to make rules to make sports fair, they still won't be fair. The thing that is, I mean, this is totally controllable. FIG could just be like, you can't substitute anyone. It's a nominative spot for all around finals. And this is how we get more diversity in all around champions. Basically,
right. This is
more countries, more people.
This is an artificial problem because it's based on an artificial 2 per country rule, which, Hashimoto earned a spot in the all-around final because he was like 3rd in qualification, which,
So this is kind of why I think, I mean, and we don't know, because Umakaya may have been like, oh my God, thank God, I'm just going to take a nap. You guys have fun. I'm going to eat waffles and take a nap. You guys, the waffles were good, I have to say. The Belgian waffles are different. I mean, they're not like the most amazing waffles I've ever had. Well, they might be, actually. I'm not that excited about waffles, I guess is the thing. They're not like Cadbury chocolate, the greatest chocolate on earth. Anywho.
Thank you for that detour.
You're welcome. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. All right. So you guys, let us know your thoughts on all the things, gymcastic@gmail.com or in the forum. And we'll try to get to more of your questions Friday. Friday on Behind the Scenes. We came back this past Friday. So if you missed Friday's Behind the Scenes, which was October 20th?
Yes,
20th. Oh, we have a Behind the Scenes that went very well for our first anything back. We're usually disaster. But
much better than today. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you missed that, please enjoy it. Have fun listening to that. And if you don't know, we do that every Friday at noon Pacific. We answer your questions live. And if you can't join us live, you can listen to it later on your favorite podcast player. And there's instructions in the forum or any of the behind the scenes episodes show notes. And thank you so much. We'll see you on Behind the Scenes on Friday. And
remember that we are going to pick the winner of our commissioned episode next week. So we'll have the winner announcement next week.
Yes, the full commissioned episode that you can't buy, a whole hour and a half, making Spencer talk about leotard rules. That's what you can do, you guys. Or anything. I've done it before. Oh, we also just had someone buy the full group commissions. We have group commissions too that you can buy a portion of, and someone bought all the portions. So bought the full commission. So I'm excited about that. So thank you so much to our listener who did that. So we have some commissions coming up. So thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you so much to our existing club members and our new club members, because this show could not happen without you guys. And we appreciate your support so much. And until Friday for Behind the Scenes at noon Pacific, remember to take off on gay, split on rights, and we'll see you on Friday. Thanks for listening.